The Modern Man Tutorials. The Gender War. Now, I'm doing my best when it comes to the gender war, right? Trying to make it end. Now, ironically, the war, the war itself technically ended. Shouts out, RIP Kevin Samuels, but there's still battles, right? There's still smaller engagements, right? Still happening. Smaller. There's still an issue, right? There's still the grand issue. So let me put this in perspective. So first off, you know, there's an outside force, right? The male and female gender, right, are not, are not against each other, you know, um, just because of gender, right? There's an outside force. So we're against each other because of an outside force. And so we're trying to so some people have tried to fix both sides, where like, okay, let's improve the guys, right? Let's improve the gals, right? Let's get the males to become men and get the females to become women, right? Because we have less men and less women in the world, right? Femininity, masculinity is almost non-existent. So we're trying to bring it back, right? So that was one solution to the problem, right? Because that is something that's missing, and we get it. It is true. But then, but unfortunately, I meant to say, another problem came up, right? So we came up with a solution, which is, teach masculinity, teach femininity. Issue is, the both sides started, focusing on their masculinity, on the femininity, right? Focusing on themselves, right? Leveling up, building themselves up, which is good, right? Most females, they go to gym and whatnot, eat healthy and all that good stuff, and change certain aspects of their life, for healing. That's what they call it. For guys, it's, leveling up, right? Improving, right? Being on your purpose. So whatever y'all wanna label it that y'all are doing, but what y'all really doing is coping. Because what you're doing is using these leveling up, these improving yourself, being the best version of yourselves as an excuse to not get along with one another. So we went from a war of like arguing, complaining, and pointing blame, blame gaming, right? Just pointing blame on each other. We went from blaming each other for our imperfections, even though no one's perfect, so that's stupid, right? But we went from blaming each other to being selfish, right? Self-love type bullshit, and starting focusing on ourselves, right? Ideal, like, improving ourselves and whatnot. And we went from a basically blame war, right, to a cold war, aka ignoring each other, right? So focus on yourself, king, focus yourself, queen, blah 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 type of stuff. And that sounds good, but logically that's stupid, because of the whole point, especially in the red pill community, originally was the idea that you're supposed to learn how the female gender thinks, and how they think, and how they're different from us. So you can't use our logic, our way of thinking, our way of doing things to figure out why your girlfriend or wife, right, is acting a certain type of way, is behaving a certain type of way, is making certain decisions, right? It's like, why is the female gender doing things differently? Like, they're doing things kind of backwards, so to speak. Like, they do the opposite of what we do. Why? Well, one, obviously, because we're different. Obviously, we're not the same, so we're built differently, obviously, so we're going to function differently, right? I always use the analogy that the female gender are iPhones and the male genders are Androids, right? So of course, even though we're smartphones and we could communicate with each other, we communicate a little bit differently. We have different hardware. We also have different software. So of course, we're not going to be, equal. We're not going to be 100% compatible. We're similar in many ways, yes. We can communicate. We just communicate a little different. Guys tend to communicate with facts. Ladies, right, tend to communicate with their feelings, right? how their body reacts to the environment. That's why you could literally give, a lady a compliment, and she'll be insulted, and you'll be like, "Why is she insulted? I gave her a compliment. It's supposed to be a good thing, but for some reason she's turning it into a bad thing." So, once you understand why your compliment came off negative and translated negatively, then you can, correct how you, the next time you get a chance to give a compliment, you'll do it in a different way where it will get the proper result. It'll translate properly. You gotta understand that men speak differently than women do, right? So you gotta learn the female language, which is emotion based, right? Same goes for the women. They gotta learn how men talk, which is typically fact or logic based, right? Like, guys will believe in the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, but ladies feel the opposite. They feel the individual is equally as important as the majority. So the minority is equal to the majority, even though mathematically we know it's not equal, because one group is bigger than the other, right? So we believe in the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. They believe everybody matters, right? Equally. And logically that doesn't work like that, especially in a universe where it's logic based, not emotional based. So they live life differently than us. So once you have that understanding, then you're supposed to act accordingly, right? It's just like if you talk to somebody who can't talk but they use their hands to talk, sign language. You're supposed to try to learn the language, or they speak a different language completely. The point is, women think differently and speak differently, right, than guys, which is why it was important to learn the difference, so that way you can communicate for the purpose of what? Getting along. What's the purpose of getting along? So you can get it on. Like, that should have been the logical thing. The whole point was for us to get together. Kevin Samuels' goal was for men and women to get along, right? Well, not men and women, males and females to get along by, first leveling up and stop being immature, aka male and female, and start being men and women, mature, right? Man up, woman up, right? Level up, get better, do better, make better decisions, be the best version of yourself, so that way you can be with the best, your best opposite, right? Your best significant other, right? Your better half. And that's how women always was considered the better half, right? They always was considered the light in our dark, right? We're the dark side, they're the light side type of thing. Yin yang, heads and tails, right? Two sides of the same coin, right? Men lead, women follow. That statement is true. But notice I said men lead, women follow. I didn't say males and females, or men and females, or male and woman. Like, notice it was men and women specifically. Men and women, are in those positions. Men lead, women follow. Because these are the best versions of the male and female species. Which is why we call the war gender war and not call it men and woman war. We call it the gender war because, it's only the immature, males and females of the human species that is having these issues, is having these wars, while men and women like myself are off on the sidelines watching y'all make fools of yourselves, make bad decisions. Just like the whole, I'm gonna level up, I'm gonna improve myself and make myself the best version of myself. That's great, dude. Yeah, I'm gonna play video games and live alone and blah blah blah. It's like, whoa, that wasn't, if that's all you're gonna do is just be single and play video games, you could do that and be lazy, right? You could be overweight. You don't need to level up and improve to play video games and be alone. It's easier to do nothing and play video games and be alone, if that's your goal. The goal of leveling up and improving yourself and being the best version of yourself is be the best version of yourself for someone else. See, the problem is that people start becoming selfish. They start listening to a lot of this red pill stuff, right? Pink pill, that's the female equivalent to the red pill community, right? Of the idea like, oh yeah, we need to level up and improve ourselves and, be the best version of ourselves, which sounds good. I'm not against the idea of leveling up and being the best version of yourself, but the idea was to be the best version of yourself for someone else. So that way someone else can, get with you, be happy with you, because you are what they're looking for, right? You are valuable to them and vice versa. The problem is you have too many people out here with this self-love shit, which is just a new way of saying selfishness, which is actually the root of all evil on this planet, is selfishness. Because united we stand, divided we fall. And selfishness, individualism, is being divided. Society only works because we work together. That's why it works, because we work together. We are being selfless. We're not thinking about ourselves 100%. I'm not saying that we can't be a little bit selfish. For example, a man should be between 80 to 90% selfless, and then like the remaining 10 to 20, 20 to 10%, right, be selfish, right? Can't help others if you can't help yourself, right? So help yourself, level up, improve yourself, but ultimately it should be for the goal of being selfless, not selfish. Now, females, right, the female gender tends to be more selfish, but it's logical because, again, they're the opposite. So if we're selfish, if we're selfless as guys, as in we're givers, well, someone has to be a taker. So obviously the opposite of us are the female gender. So clearly they have to be the taker, right, the receivers of what we give, right, in more ways than one, right? So it makes sense that they're more selfish than selfless, but they still have to be selfless. But nowadays, the female gender is trying to be more selfish. That's where the whole self-love thing comes from. They're talking about being more selfish, as if they weren't already being selfish before, right? The irony in that, as if they weren't already being selfish before, which is why a lot of bad relationships happen, because they were largely being selfish. They care more about what they wanted, less about what their significant other wanted. And the idea is to be a give and take, right? It's not always he gives and she takes, right? She has to give back as well. Not necessarily has to be as much, like doesn't have to be equal or equality, right? But at least equivalent. This is why a guy takes care of a woman, right, financially, and she takes care of him in the bedroom. It's not equal, it's not the same thing, but it's equivalent, right? It's equal enough, right? It's good enough. Because I'm not going to complain if I give if I give somebody an apple and they give me a piece of chocolate cake, I'm not going to complain. I'm not, oh wait, this ain't the same. They're like, no, this is good enough. This is edible. It's good enough. It's similar enough. I can eat this just like I could have ate the apple, right? So I'm not going to complain that it's not the exact same, right? Just like you can say, giving somebody money for an apple is not the same. Of course, it's not the exact same, but it's equivalent. That's the whole point. It's an equivalence exchange, a fair exchange, not a equal exchange. Equal exchange means I give you a cup of water, you give me a cup of water. Like, well, what was the point of that? It's pointless, right? Unless the cup of water I gave you has something extra. But if it's the exact same, then there was no point in the exchange, right? There's no point in giving you something for you to give me something if it's going to be the exact same thing. It has to be different for it to even be worth trading. Because for all that, I was better off just keeping my shit. Just like hearing guys talking about they don't want to spend money on women, female gender and stuff like that. It's like, but that's the whole purpose of having money, was so you can spend it on things that you cared about. And the female gender is one of those things you're supposed to care about, right? You're supposed to be a protector and a provider. So, not a protector and provider for yourself. Obviously, inherently, you already have those abilities. You're already going to take care of yourself. You're already going to provide for yourself, right? But you're supposed to have an abundance of protective capabilities and an abundance of, being able to provide, right? Provisions that you can share, right? Share your provisions and share your protection, right? Be able to provide not only for yourself but for others, right? Because if you have kids, you gotta provide for them, right? And you gotta protect them, right? So you gotta have more of that quality. Just like the ladies are supposed to have more of the qualities they have, right? More of what they can give. It's hard for a lady to give you more of her, you know, sexual inexperience if she experienced every sexual thing she could possibly experience. So then that's less she can give you, right? She can't be like, oh, let's try this position. I never tried it before. If she already has tried it, right? So that's less she can give. So the more, she can give, the more like, oh, let's try this for the first time. Oh, let's try that for the first time. The better. Same thing as like just in general. It doesn't have to be sex. It could just be about like life. Like, I've never been to Hawaii or something like that. Cool, I'll take you to Hawaii and that'll be special. But if you've been there like 3 to 5 times with other guys, it becomes less special if I do it. Right? I'm definitely gonna feel like it's less special because it's like, okay, you've been there before already with other guys. I don't want to do the same thing other guys already did with you. I want to do something you haven't done. I'll take you to the moon. Oh, you already did that? Oh, Jesus. Like that's the point. That doesn't sound good. Then that means you're not bringing anything to the table that I'm interested in, because you're already doing everything. You might as well just keep doing everything with those guys, because you got nothing for me, right? Just like, giving other guys a lot of your attention, your love, and whatnot. That means you have less of it for me, right? It's less special for you to give me attention and love, right? When you're giving it out to a whole bunch of people, so it becomes less valuable. What we all know, what makes something valuable is how rare it is, right? How very few people have it, and that's what makes it special. If everybody has it, it ain't special. If everybody has it, it ain't special. Just like if every chick looks the same, they're not special. If they look the same, they act the same, not special. It's supposed to be as different as y'all possibly can be, so that way you can be special. So, my long story short, I've been rambling on. So, my solution, which is what I'm currently doing my best at, is, the best I can do, especially as a guy, is try to get the ladies on our side, right? By reducing their numbers, right? By reducing them trying to cope with going to the gym and whatnot, and avoiding guys in general, avoiding relationship, getting them to come to the side, getting them to talk more, getting them to like guys. A lot of what I notice that happens a lot is that since there's less men, obviously a lot of these ladies are in relationships or dealt with less men. In reality, they dealt with no men, but you get my point. They dealt with so few men, like real men, right? That they don't even know what a man is. So they just think any guy they deal with is a man. And then if the guy, since he's not a man, he's obviously not going to act like a man. So he's going to do dumb shit, wrong shit, stupid shit. And then it's going to make the idea of a man look bad. Right? So you got these guys who aren't men making real men like myself look bad. And that's not good. So, AK fuck boys, right? You got a lot of simps out there, incels, beta males, guys that are bad examples of being a man, right? They're making us look bad, making real men look bad. Good quality guys, loyal guys, respectful guys who, one wouldn't cheat because it would be smarter just to be upfront and be like, hey, I want to have sex with another chick. Is that cool? And if she's okay with it, then she's okay with it. If she's not, all right, respect her decision, right? But if I'm really going to be with a whole bunch of chicks, I'm better off being single, logically, right? That's what a man would do. He'd be logical about it. If he wants to be with multiple chicks, that's what he'll be. But multiple chicks have a harem. There's no need to get in a relationship if you still want the ability to have sex with multiple ladies. Just be an eligible bachelor. right? Be Bruce Wayne, right? Just be with a whole bunch of women. You don't need to be in a relationship. The purpose of a relationship is to replace the harem, essentially, right? To replace your single life, to replace your options of all these chicks, right? They're supposed to be like, all right, this chick is worthy of, of replacing all these options. But a lot of guys, like I said, they're not men. So of course they'll be like, oh yeah, all these chicks, I gotta have them all. I can't control myself type bullshit. It's like, you can. And if you really, really feel like you still gotta get different booty, then ask for permission. It's not hard. Here's the funny thing, like, if you ask for permission and she says no, and you still want other booty, right? Then break up with her. There. Simple. You're still gonna get to have sex with other women regardless. Right? It's just the irony of this, like, the only way she could, if you cared about what she thinks and what she says, the way she could prevent you from having, sex with other women, right? Or prevent you from cheating is by telling you no. Right? Because if she breaks up with you, let's say you ask and she just immediately wants to break up with you just for asking. Well, most females don't tend to realize that you do realize you're pretty much just giving them permission to have sex with other women, because instead of staying with him and telling him no, and then him respecting you telling him no, you're leaving him. So now he can definitely have sex with all these other women. So you fail. That's an L right there. That's not a W. Oh, she's cute. So that's just the kind of stuff that cracks me up. The idea of like thinking that by leaving him that's like a punishment. It's like, no, that's actually freeing him to do the things he was going to do anyway. So if he wants to have sex with other chicks, or he does have sex with other chicks, because that tends to be an issue with most relationships, is the whole sexual dynamic. One, lack of sex in the relationship, and the other one is wanting more sex beyond the relationship, aka cheating, aka a sexless relationship, right? So those tend to be two issues that tends to come up a lot, obviously, and that tends to be more for the guy side. For the female side, it's more about money. Like, a chick will leave you for a guy who makes more money than you, or she'll leave you because you're making less than when y'all started dating. Let's say you make a $200K a year, and now you're only making $100K a year because cutbacks or some shit or some reason, or pay cut. So now you're making less than you used to, and now she wants to leave you. Like, that's kind of drawing, but that's her reasoning, right? So finances tend to be the reason for females typically, why the relationships tend to not last too long. Of course, you can say the sexual thing, infidelity and whatnot, but that's for another conversation. But here's the other thing, another point I wanted to make, I was thinking about before was I'm losing thought. I completely forgot what point I was gonna make. So I just move on. Really, really try to think. I'll pause for a bit to really think about it. But anyway, might remember it later on and make another video about it. But it's the fact that it's like I'm noticing, obviously the issues we're having out there in society, and trying to solve it through understanding, right? Understanding the ladies and translating our point of views, the way we see things, to them. Doing our best to try to make sense of it, and vice versa. And that's the thing. It's very important to understand the languages, right? Like I said earlier, and be able to translate. So been doing a pretty good job at it. Got a lot of practice on TikTok, being able to get certain ideas and point across. Sometimes it takes a while, but of course I'm getting better, faster, stronger, right? It's always important to get better at what you do, better communication. And that's the main thing is when it comes to the gender war thing, right? Is communication, right? The whole red pill thing was about understanding women, right? So you can get along with them. But instead, guys did the opposite. A lot of guys use the understanding, the truth of women nature, blah, 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 to essentially just hate them or hate them more if they wasn't already hating them. And it's like, wait, we weren't telling you that, they initiate a lot of the, breakups and divorces and this, that, they're more than guys do for you to hate them, to be like, oh, see, they're bad. No. Letting you know that they're the ones who do it, and then why they do it. And once you understand the reason behind it, then you can do better. You can be like, oh, okay, that's why they do it. Okay, well then I need to do better. I need to be better. I need to be the guy that she doesn't want to do that with, right? Being able to understand, why cheating happens, right? I've had a scenario where I broke up. Well, I'm mostly the one who initiates the breakups, but there was two instances specifically where I felt, not felt, but I was able to deduce, like put things two to two together, right? I was able to logically deduce that, the relationship, was going, going downhill, right? So instead of allowing it to get to the point where, cheating could happen, right? I just broke up with them and free them to go do what their feelings are, telling them to do, right? The first one definitely had to let her go. She had feelings for another guy. She kept distancing herself from me. She didn't want me to touch her, hug her, that kind of stuff. She barely wanted to talk to me. And it's like, well, that's not good. Because it's not like I did anything wrong. It's just suddenly one day she just stopped wanting to be intimate. She stopped wanting to, to be nice to me. She was acting like I'm some random dude. I'm like, okay, I'm your boyfriend, but okay, you want to act like I'm a random dude. So it's like, why? Of course, I was able to put two and two together and be like, oh, you like that other guy. That's who. Because when you see him, you're happy. You hang around with him. And you're not trying to hang out with me. So that's what's going on. So then I had to, sit her down and have a talk with her and let her know that, I see what's going on. I see that you're interested in the other guy. And she admitted that, yeah, she likes him. So it's like, all right, fine. Then I break up with you. Go be with him. You know how it is. She's going to get emotional, of course. And whatnot. But it's like, well, I mean, it's unfair, to try to stay with me, but still be interested in that guy. It's like, if you're interested in him, go. Because, logically, it's like, if you're interested in him, go. You're not my wife, right? You didn't make a verbal contract or a vow, to love me through sickness and health and till death do us part. No. We're just boyfriend, girlfriends, we get along for as long as we did. It was cool. Not a problem. No hurt feelings here. Well, except for hers maybe. But besides the point, it's like, go. If he'll make you happy, he'll make you happy, right? If, follow your feelings, basically, right? It's like, if that's how you feel you're more interested in him than me, then go. I'm not gonna fight you on it, right? I'm gonna make a big deal. But then, the second one, ironically, if I didn't break up with her, we'd still be together. The irony with that. But that's for a different story. But it definitely was feeling it a lot. There was a lot of red flags. I ignored them, of course. But it's like, but only but so long you can ignore the red flags. Like, okay, it is obvious that you want to, you got the feelings of breaking up with me, but you're not going to initiate it. If anything, you're just going to keep acting the way you're acting, hoping that eventually, I break up with you. And there's a high probability, if she hasn't already, did, was a high probability that you're probably going to cheat on me. And it's like, instead of even going through all that, it's better off that I just break up with you, right? Just here, break up with you. You know, at first she tried to make it seem like she, hated the idea of breaking up, but then it was quick, real quick. Didn't take that long for her to accept the breakup. It's like, okay, well, that proves my point there, that you already, not that she doesn't have feelings for me or anything, that obviously can never stop loving me, but it was like, it's like, okay, your sim phase, right? The magical spell I had on you is wearing off. You still have feelings for me, but the magical spell that made you, be with me for as long as we're together is starting to wear off. The magic, right? The magic of our relationship is wearing off. So now, and she's my ex-fiance, by the way. So, we started going from being engaged to just being boyfriend, girlfriend again, to just like, all right, we're breaking up. She wants to stay friends. I was like, nope, not doing that. We were at different levels, and we're not doing that. I'm not putting me in your friend zone. It's like, right now you're my ex-fiance, so no, we're not friends. Never will be. So left it at that and moved on. We talked not too long ago, like maybe a year or two ago was the last time we spoke. If I'm right, it was this year when she blocked me. Just spontaneously at one point she blocked me. I think partially is because she's going through some shit in her life, and seeing me just reminded her, of how good it was when she was in a relationship with me. So it's partly why she probably blocked me. Typically that's why something like that would happen. Anyway, time for me to start working.